Welcome back. I'm Leslie, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I talk about how I'm doing emotionally and mentally, and I also talk about, my art, blah, 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 blah. Not that that's not important, because it is, but today we're going to talk about how to survive in food service. So I've worked in food service for about 12 years, plus it's hard to keep track. But whether you're 16 and about to start your first fast food job, or you're in your 20s or your 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, it doesn't matter. If you're going into let's try that again. If you're going into food service, you're not really gonna know exactly what to expect. It's not anything like they train you for, I guess you could say. It's a whole experience. So today I'm going to talk about how to survive your first day in food service. And hopefully this will be a new series where I talk about how to survive in different situations, or even, what's it like to survive through the grocery store and how to survive through the grocery store. So without further ado, words. I apologize if you hear my fanning. Goodness gracious, it is warm in here and these lights are not helping. Anyway, so how to survive your first day on the job at a fast food service business, I guess. I only have a partial script for this, so I'm kind of still winging it, but I've got my notes. I would have to say that the first piece of advice that I would give is paying attention, listening to your trainer. And I highly suggest getting one of those little itty bitty mini spiral notepads. Bring a pen with you and write down as many notes as you can, because those first few days of training, you're going to get bombarded with so much information. You're not going to be able to retain all of it without writing something down. So, first thing you should make sure you bring is that notepad and pen. And make sure you pay close attention to what your trainer is saying, or any pertinent information. You can write down questions that you have that you don't have the ability to ask right now, which is one thing I will say: ask lots of questions. You're not going to learn everything that you need to know on your first day. You're not going to learn everything you need to know on your second or your third day. There's so much that goes into working at food service. And I personally only have experience from working at McDonald's. So a lot of my situations I'm going to talk about are probably going to be more focused around working at McDonald's. I know they hire a lot of people, and I've seen so many people come and go because they don't realize exactly what it's all about. There's so much, and I could go on for days, but right now I need to focus. Okay, so we're paying attention, we're bringing a notebook, and we're asking lots and lots and lots of questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions either. Don't think, oh, I'm going to look stupid. I mean, you're probably going to think that anyway, and I don't want to tell you not to think that, but try not to think that, because I promise you, if you ask a question, even if it's got a simple answer, you're going to know, and they're going to think, hey, they want to know more. They want clarification. It shows initiative. It shows you want to learn more about the job, even if this is just a stepping stone, working in food service, or maybe you just need a second job. Surviving is important. Knowing how to survive is important. And I know so many of my friends will testify that it's definitely not a walk in the park. It's not the most difficult job working in food service, but it can be very stressful. So keep that in mind. It tends to be a high stress job depending on the store that you work at, depending on the food service you work in. That's kind of some stuff you're going to want to think about. How many cars do they get through in an hour? Like, you don't want to know exact numbers, but it's important to know how busy you're going to be depending on the stress load. Did that sentence make any sense? I don't know, but we're going to keep going. All right. So I have some stuff on my notebook and I'm trying to follow it, but brains and stuff. I think I'm dying in here. Okay, so something that I really highly suggest focusing on your first day is going to be safety procedures and food safety procedures. I've seen it so many times. We try to stress how important safety and food safety is, and people just, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if they don't think it matters, but it does. Making sure you're using the right kind of gloves to handle raw food makes a difference. You could end up killing somebody by one simple mistake of using the wrong gloves or forgetting to do something before you handle gloves, like switching from your gloves that you make food with to food that's raw and then touching things. That's not cool. So definitely listen to the safety and food safety procedures and try to follow them and adhere by them. Is that what I want to say? Probably, yeah. All right. So anyway, what else do we want to focus on today? Also, make sure that you're washing your hands often. I can't even express how much you should be washing your hands in food service. And I'm going to tell a secret that I know. People in food service do not wash their hands nearly as often as they should. I know, because I've worked there. An hourly timer is set. At every place that I've worked, there's been an hourly timer. And that's the minimum requirement of how often you should wash your hands. But if you ask me, an hour is not long enough. Wait, short enough? You should be washing your hands more than once in an hour. You should wash your hands every time you change a trash, you touch anything dirty, you pick anything off the floor, anytime you change your gloves. Do it once an hour too. You should be washing hands often. And I know that seems like a no-brainer, especially during the time that we live in right now, where hygiene has been so predominant. But it's something that you don't think about, especially when I was working at McDonald's. You're going so freaking fast. You're trying to push so many cars through. You don't have time to wash your hands when you have to grab a new pair of gloves because there's a hole. Oh yeah, change your gloves if you've got a hole in your gloves. That's not cool. Change your gloves if they're soiled, if your hands are sweaty, if they feel gross on your hands. How to survive your first day in food service is the question that we are answering today. And we've gone over gloves, so I already went over that point. A few more things to think about on your first day is it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. And you're not going to pick everything up all at once. There's so much. I mean, I can only imagine how many items you need to memorize at Burger King. It's got to be as many as McDonald's because let me tell you, the menu is just too big. That's how I feel like it is at every fast food place. It's too big. Anyway, getting off of that point, making mistakes is okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. So many people have been in the same position that you are in and have made the same mistake. I can bet you when you walk through that door that somebody in that store has made a mistake that you're probably going to end up making. And they'll probably try to reassure you. And it's not a, hey, it's okay, it happens, I've done that before, jokingly, like not even jokingly, but like to make you not feel bad. Legit, there were so many times a new person when I was working at McDonald's would make a mistake that I've done before. Like that one time where I forgot to put a coffee filter in, but I put the coffee in and then I brewed it. And then I was like, why is the coffee frothy? It looks really gross. And that was when I found out, oops, I forgot the coffee filter. Things like that are going to happen, especially when you're working fast. You're trying to do too much at once. You think you got all the steps and you miss one. As long as you're not making mistakes that will lead to killing somebody. And if you do make a mistake that might eventually harm somebody's health in some way, definitely go to management. Definitely. Don't be afraid. Mistakes happen. If they go off on you and they're angry, well, that's not appropriate. And I would start looking for a new job because that's not how you handle mistakes. Mistakes are a learning opportunity for all of us. I make mistakes all the time. You think I would have learned some more? Maybe, I don't know. So, we've talked about mistakes. Make sure when you first start a food service job, you remember to treat people the way that you want to be treated. One thing that a lot of people don't realize when they get into food service or even customer service is how customers treat workers. And there are some really great people out there. The regulars that come through, they're always so nice. But you've got those people who are having a bad day, and they're going to come in and they're going to scream at you about the fact that they got charged $16 for a $4 order. They have the receipt, and they'll scream at you and they'll call you swear words. I've been sworn at a lot. Anyway, even though that receipt wasn't even their receipt. It wasn't. They were just handed the wrong receipt, and they were treating me like crap because they were having a bad day. Don't let that kind of stuff get to you. It's just food. Remember, it's just food service. It's just food. You don't have somebody's... Okay, in a way, you kind of do have people's lives in your hands. But in terms of, like, speed and, you know, if you make Oopsie. Anyway, my bads. If you make a mistake, like you ring something up wrong, you don't have somebody's life in your hands. You're not sitting there with, that scalpel underneath the doctor's table trying to make those kinds of decisions. You're just making sandwiches. You're taking orders. You're making drinks. It is not that big of a deal. And there's nothing wrong with having passion. And there's nothing wrong with having pride in your work. But never, never, never forget that you should never let working in food service. And I'm back, and I totally can't even remember what the heck I was talking about. But John was looking for his keys, so... Anyway, just don't forget that you're working in food service. You're not a doctor. You're not saving lives. You're not in the back of an ambulance trying to give somebody CPR. You're just serving food. And it's definitely not worth it to let it ruin your day. And it is definitely hard to not let it get to you. Unless you just have that tough outer exterior. I know John worked at Steak and Shake for 15 years. And he seemed to put up with it pretty well. So, yeah. Don't forget it's food. And try not to stress out about it. Taking your job seriously, though, is important. Because it pays bills, right? And even if you're a teenager, that may be the job that ends up paying your first rent on your first apartment. So making sure that you show up on time. I personally like to show up 10 to 15 minutes early. Making sure you're showing up on time, you're going into work, you're reliable, not calling off. Those kinds of things are important. They're important to the company, and they should be important to you too, because I don't know what place doesn't write people up. if you come into work late, if you call off too much, documentation. You have to keep that in the back of your mind. And so, yeah, I'm not really sure where I was going. I had more thoughts coming and I was like, no. Last piece that I want to talk about. Avoid drama at all costs. You're there to get a job done. You're there to make money, and that's it. If you happen to make some friends along the way, cool. I've made a ton of friends working in food service. I've met a ton of amazing people. People who have helped me realize I'm not alone. But getting into the drama, it's just going to cause you more stress. It's just going to cause you more pain than it's worth. So if somebody comes along with a rumor or any hearsay, my suggestion is to walk away or say you don't want to hear it. It's so much easier to say that than to actually do it. I know, because I've gotten sucked into a whole heck of a lot of drama and not wanted any part of it. Upper management. Anyway. So, I'm not sure if you were able to follow any of that. And if you were, kudos. And hopefully, this has helped you on your first day working at food service. And remember, and never forget, that it's just food. All right, so I'm going to review the points that we just went over. Make sure you're paying close attention to your trainer and what they're telling you. Make sure you're asking lots of questions. Don't worry about looking stupid or asking stupid questions. Bring a notepad and a pen to take notes, because that's important. Make sure you're washing your hands often. Remember, if you're wearing gloves, to change them frequently. It's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Mistakes are not a failure. Treat fellow staff members and crew people, treat fellow staff members and customers the way you want to be treated, with kindness and respect. Remember, it's just fast food. Don't let it stress you out. And avoid drama. I think that wraps up our first day of surviving fast food. Words are hard, gosh darn it. So, I wish you good luck on your first day, and your second and third, and so forth and so forth. And I do plan to do more videos on how to survive working in fast food, and maybe a few others. So, please stay tuned. Take care.